All right, let's jump right into it. Today we're taking a deep dive into the fascinating world of data centers. Those digital powerhouses that keep our online world spinning.
Absolutely. Everything we do online, from streaming our favorite shows to connecting with friends, relies on these massive server farms humming away behind the
It's
scenes.
incredible when you think about it.
Yeah.
And we're demanding more and more from these data centers every day. So naturally, we're interested in how they're evolving to keep up with our insatiable appetite for data, right?
Right. It's a constant race to keep pace with the growing demand.
And that brings us to today's focus, limoncello. Now, before you picture a refreshing Italian drink, let me clarify.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's not about sipping limoncello on a beach somewhere.
Definitely not. In this case, Limoncello is a new system designed to make data centers operate more efficiently, to squeeze every ounce of performance out of them.
It's all about working smarter, not harder.
Yeah, exactly. To put it simply, imagine you're making a smoothie, but your blender is struggling to keep up with all the ingredients.
Ah, I see where you're going with this.
Limoncello is like finding a way to make that blender run smoother and faster without having to buy a whole new one.
That's a great analogy. And one of the big issues Limoncello tackles is this thing called the memory bandwidth bottleneck.
Okay, bottleneck, that sounds ominous.
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean in the context of data centers?
So picture this. You're trying to get all the ingredients for your smoothie through a narrow straw. That's essentially what's happening inside a data center.
Wait, so the data is like a smoothie trying to squeeze through a straw.
Essentially, there's a limit to how fast data can flow within a computer system, and we're constantly hitting that limit.
That makes sense. It's like rush hour traffic inside the
Wow.
computer, and everyone's trying to squeeze through the same narrow lane.
Precisely. And the frustrating part is that this memory bandwidth, that narrow lane, hasn't really widened much in the past decade, while our thirst for data has absolutely exploded.
So we're essentially trying to cram a whole fleet of 18-wheelers through a bike lane.
Pretty much. And the research paper we're looking at today, Limoncello, Prefetchers for Scale, really dives into how problematic this bottleneck has become.
I bet. So what do they find?
Well, they found that even when a server is only working at, say, 50% capacity, like having half the lanes empty, the memory bandwidth can already be maxed out.
Wow. So it's like having a sports car, but only ever driving it in first gear. You've got all this power, but you can't use it.
Exactly. That's the memory bandwidth bottleneck in a nutshell. And it's a major hurdle for data centers trying to keep up with our data-hungry world.
So we've got this bottleneck situation, and then to make things even more interesting, we have these things called hardware prefetchers,
Yeah.
which are supposed to help, but often make things worse.
Yeah, it's a bit counterintuitive.
It really is.
Yeah.
The limoncello.pdf source talks about this, and it's almost like trying to direct traffic with a bunch of well-meaning, but ultimately kind of clueless volunteers.
Yeah, good intentions, but...
Exactly. So for those who don't know, what are these hardware prefetchers, and what are they trying to do?
So basically, hardware prefetchers are like those friends who always try to guess what you want before you even ask. Like, oh, you're grabbing a drink. Let me get you a snack too, just in case.
I know those friends.
Right. And in the context of computers, they're trying to anticipate what data you'll need next and load it in advance.
Which sounds great in theory, like, hey, thanks for looking out for me.
You'd think so. But here's the thing. These prefetchers often guess wrong. And in a data center, that means they're constantly pulling in a bunch of data that you don't actually need, which just clogs up the already jammed bandwidth.
It's like those friends who bring way too much food to the party.
Exactly. The fridge is overflowing, no one can find what they actually want.
And suddenly the whole system grinds to a halt.
Precisely. And what's even more fascinating is that the research actually shows that turning off these hardware prefetchers can sometimes improve performance.
Wait, seriously, turning them off helps.
Yeah. The Limoncello paper actually found that disabling them reduced memory bandwidth usage by a significant amount between 11% and 16%.
16%, that's huge. So it's not just about adding more lanes to the highway, it's also about making sure the traffic that is there is flowing smoothly.
You got it. And unfortunately, hardware prefetchers are becoming even more aggressive in their predictions as data demands increase, so it's becoming a bigger problem.
So it's like those friends who, even though we told them to chill out last time, they show up with even more food this time.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
a classic case of too much of a good thing.
So this is where Limoncello steps in, right? Offering a more, shall we say, refined approach to prefetching.
Exactly. Limoncello takes a different approach, one that is much more elegant and efficient.
So how does Limoncello actually work? I mean, how does it tame this prefetching frenzy. It's not like
Yeah.
you can just tell those prefetchers to take a chill pill.
Well, it's definitely more sophisticated than that. Limoncello actually takes this two-pronged approach that combines the best of both worlds, hardware and software.
Ooh, a two-pronged approach. I like it. Tell me more.
So picture Limoncello as a sort of data traffic cop.
Okay, I can visualize that.
And it's got these two main parts to it, hard limoncello and soft limoncello.
Okay, hard limoncello and soft limoncello. Sounds kind of like a cocktail menu.
Right. So hard limoncello is like the watchful guardian of the system. It keeps a close eye on the memory bandwidth, that highway we were talking
Right.
about. And when it senses things are getting a bit congested, it steps in and temporarily disables those overzealous hardware prefetchers.
Ah, so it's like hitting the brakes before they cause a full-blown data traffic jam.
Exactly. Now, soft limoncello, on the other hand, is more like a strategic planner.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Instead of just grabbing any data it thinks you might need, it uses something called software prefetching, and that's way more targeted and deliberate.
So it's like having a co-pilot who knows the route really well and only tells you to take a shortcut when it actually saves time.
Exactly. Now, here's the really clever part. To figure out which operations would benefit from software prefetching, they actually disabled the hardware prefetchers and observed which functions suffered the most without them.
So they basically created a before and after scenario to pinpoint exactly where those prefetchers were making a difference.
Exactly, and they found that a lot of the functions that really benefit from prefetching are those essential but often overlooked tasks. Things like copying data, compressing it, and hashing.
Ooh, hashing. That sounds intense.
It's actually not as complicated as it sounds. Think of these as the data center tax functions, those routine behind-the-scenes operations that keep everything running smoothly.
Data center tax
I
function.
like it.
Not the most glamorous, but essential nonetheless.
Exactly. And the Limoncello team found that these types of functions are actually perfect for software prefetching because they often involve accessing data in very predictable patterns.
So it's all about finding those patterns, those predictable pathways, where prefetching can really make a difference without clogging up the entire system.
Right. It's about being strategic. And the best part, Limoncello actually works. When they implemented it in a real-world data center setting, they found the application throughput, basically how much work those servers could handle, increased by a significant amount, like 10% at peak utilization.
10%. That's huge. So you're telling me that with this software tweak, they were able to squeeze out 10% more performance from the same hardware.
Exactly. It's a testament to the power of intelligent software optimization.
That's amazing. It's like getting a free performance upgrade. And it's not just about doing more work either, right?
Yeah.
It also impacts the speed, right?
Absolutely. They also saw a significant reduction in memory latency. That's the time it takes to retrieve data by about 13%.
So going back to our smoothie analogy, it's like getting that smoothie made 13% faster because someone reorganized the kitchen for maximum efficiency.
Exactly. And you know what's really exciting? The researchers behind Limoncello believe that this is just the tip of the iceberg, that this is a stepping stone to even more intelligent hardware-software collaboration in the future.
So are we talking about a future where our computers are constantly adapting to our usage patterns in real time, making prefetching so seamless and smart we don't even realize it's happening?
That's definitely a possibility. Imagine a world where our data centers are not only faster and more efficient, but also more energy efficient, which is good for everyone.
Now, that's a future I can get behind. It's amazing how much ingenuity goes into optimizing the technology we often take for granted. Who knew that making data centers run more efficiently was as simple as making a better smoothie?
Right. It's all about working smarter, not harder, and Limoncello is a perfect example of that.
Well, on that note, I think we've done a pretty good job dissecting the fascinating world of data centers and Limoncello's innovative approach to prefetching.
We definitely covered a lot of ground.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the heart of the digital world and that you came away with a newfound appreciation for all the behind-the-scenes magic that makes our online world possible. Until next time.